section, we will learn how enzyme activity is regulated, and while there are 4 methods of regulation, I'm going to talk about activators, inhibitors, and allosteric regulation. Just how it may seem, activators have a positive effect on enzyme activity by binding to the enzyme and changing the conformation. However, when inhibitors do the same binding and changing of conformation, it has a negative effect, resulting in reduced enzyme activity. Now we are going to focus on the 3 types of enzyme inhibitors. First are competitive inhibitors, which compete with the substrate for the same active site on the enzyme. It is important to note that competitive inhibitors are similar molecules. The process is reversible, the Vmax remains unchanged, but the Km does increase. So here we can see that this substrate can't bind to the enzyme because something else already has with different functional groups. Next are non-competitive inhibitors, which don't compete for the same active site. Instead, they compete for a different they bind to a different active site, changing the conformation of the enzyme, making it less active or inactive. It's important to know that adding more of the substrate doesn't overcome the inhibition, so you can't add more to this substrate to fill in the entire new shape. The process is reversible. The Vmax decreases and the Km remains unchanged. So here, because something else binded to the enzyme, it changed its shape, and now this substrate won't fit and it has to move on. Lastly, irreversible inhibitors bind to the active site and make the enzyme permanently inactive, and so this process is not reversible. The substrate that wished to bind to the enzyme is now mostly terminal, so it